Thank you, Zach, and hopefully everyone can see my screen.
I can see it. So I think you're good.
Wonderful. That's good. That's always nice when it works. Uh, However, there is one thing I need to pull up, and that's having my notes section in front of me. I appreciate the opportunity of being with you today. And as Zach mentioned, April is Distracted Driving Month when we put a lot of attention on it. And so I want to share some information today and appreciate the opportunity of being with you. And sorry that Cindy isn't the one who was able to make this particular presentation. But as we look at distracted driving, it is something that is a major issue. And in fact, when we look at motor vehicle traffic deaths, and here you're just seeing a sample 2013 through 2020, but the estimated economic loss in 2013 was 27.8 billion. By 2020, that has grown to 43.4 billion. And when we look at fatalities, Zach earlier mentioned issues as it relates to COVID. And I know when we had our basically our shutdown, our lockdown, and people were working from home rather than the office, traffic volume wasn't that high. And there were many folks like myself who thought, we're going to finally have a day that nobody's going to lose their life in Texas as a result of a motor vehicle incident. Well, it didn't happen. In fact, the last deathless day, November the 7th of 2000. And last year, we averaged 12.9 people per day in the state of Texas as far as fatalities are concerned, which is an increase over previous years. And so, and as we look at all of this, we have a major problem. And one of the issues that is involved in this is the matter of folks driving distracted. And when we look at people and their phones, and what were people doing on their phones in 2021? And there's some obvious answers that are there that would come to our minds. They're texting, they're emailing, they're checking social media, they're taking pictures. But over on the right hand side, shopping online is one of the things that we're seeing, or where we're seeing an increase as far as people driving, using the phone while they're doing this. And another interesting aspect of what's happening is, the age group. For a number of years, it was that 16 to 24, and then folks my age were at the low end. Folks my age are still at the low end, but the age bracket of folks that are using the cell phone while driving more now is that 25 to 49 age group. And so as we look at what's happening, and I mentioned the pandemic and what people are doing on their phones, and in each one of these categories, you see a difference between before the pandemic and after the pandemic. And when we look at that shopping online, before the pandemic, 8% of drivers had mentioned doing this, and today it's over 17%. In checking social media, 13% before, 20% today. In every single category, we see these things have gone up. And according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, 354,000 plus drivers are holding their cell phones to their ears while driving on a typical daylight moment in 2020. And so it continues to be an issue. Now, I want to say right here that while I talk about cell phones, the thing is, when it comes to distracted driving, and we'll see in a chart here in a little bit, that people on their phones is really a small portion of distraction and driving. And when we look at people and their attitudes, and National Safety Council did a 2020 public opinion poll, and question number 4 that you see, assuming there were no laws governing behavior while driving, how often would you do the following while driving? And notice that the top 3: program or search a location or address using a GPS navigation system. As far as occasionally and other times, 58% of the drivers. Adjusting the settings or controls on a digital music device, 52%, either occasionally or others. And so a lot of things are being done by people. And in this same poll, 50% of respondents said they always have their phone with them while they're driving. Now, I made mention of the difference that is there, and how serious the issue is. The blue represents fatal crashes involving a cell phone. The green represents fatal other distractions that affected crashes. And people are doing a lot of things, as you see from the picture that is there. The mother checking on her child, people eating and driving. We see the gentleman up in the left-hand corner trying to get himself all groomed and all ready as far as work is concerned. And one of the things here, though, that we don't often think about, and I hope each of you, if you don't take anything else away from what I'm sharing with you today, one of the areas that we don't pay maybe near as much attention to, and a danger as far as, or the dangerous area as far as what we need to be paying attention to, is our parking lots. There are a lot of things that people are doing as they're driving, in the parking lot. 63% said they would program their GPS. 6% of folks who were in the parking lot would take that time also to text. Why do we do this? Well, I'm not going all that fast. And I'm sure every single one of us in a parking lot, not so much at work, but in a public parking lot, you're getting ready to back out. You look in your rearview mirror, or you look in your see your camera, the backup camera, and you're seeing somebody walking along, and what are they doing? They've got their head down, looking at the phone. They're not paying any attention at all to what is going on around them. Now, when we look at distraction and the different things that people do, and one of the things that we need to impress upon our folks is anything that you're doing that takes your attention away from the task of driving is a distraction. And one of the biggest problems is inattention to what we're doing. We just kind of, we're driving to work every morning, when we're driving home in the afternoon, how often do we find ourselves thinking about what I'm going to do when I get there? I use a phrase when I talk about working and particularly working and driving that vehicle for work purposes. And the phrase is, first, you have to get there. This is the thing. And one of the things where people who drive for companies, I feel are probably very guilty of, is thinking about what they're going to do when they get there, instead of spending the time focusing on driving, making sure that they get there so they can take care of that problem. Because the truth of the matter is, you get involved in a collision on the way to whatever you're going to do, it doesn't matter what you were going to do when you get there, you ain't going to be there. You're not going to be the one who may be dealing with that, depending upon the seriousness of what has just happened, because we weren't putting all of our attention on the most important task, and that is operating the motor vehicle. And to me, there's one other thing is we look at this graph, and the gray represents those who have not been in a crash, but they've been guilty of doing these particular things. On the red are those who have been in one or more crashes. Now, I don't know about you, but as I look at that, I would think there should be a greater disparity between those who haven't been involved in a crash than those who have been involved in one or more. And I think this is what leads people to kind of believe that somehow they are the exception to the rule. Yeah, those other people, they can't do that. Me, I can do this. I mean, I've done it. I'm not saying that personally for me. I'm just making a quote right there in that particular regard. But there's a lot of things that we do as we drive where our not being involved in a collision was just a matter of our good fortune as it relates to this. And when people are asked, why do you do this? And this was from the NSC, again, that distracted driving public opinion poll back in 2020. And, the different categories of things that were there that a person would do. And then, the rationale or the reason that they would give why they did it. One of the things that is to me is very telling when it comes to glancing or reading post social media on the phone, when it came to grooming or fixing appearance, when it came to look or take post photos or videos, is that personal desire. Because you're bored, you don't have anything else to do. I wonder what's there, and we're all tempted to just take that quick look just to see what that message is. Now, my wife's not here, so I'll share a personal uh, experience here. And when I travel, my wife, now number one, she'll say, "Yeah, I know texting and driving is dangerous, and I'm going somewhere. I'm gone an hour. I can guarantee you, my phone is going to ding, which I ignore. It's not going to be too long till it's going to ding again, which I ignore. And then the third time, it's going to ding again, and I already know what the message is. I don't have to look. It says hello, which means, okay, why aren't you answering me? Which tells me now, okay, now I better pull off the road and answer this, because if I don't, the next thing she's going to do is call me. And so we there are a lot of things that are pulling at us, and another one of those interesting things that surveys have pointed out when it comes to uh, people driving for work, and companies have policies that say you're not supposed to be talking and driving and so forth. And survey this was Travelers Insurance that found that one of the biggest, I'm going to say, violators of the policy is management calling employees, knowing that they're on the road, but thinking, well, I've got to, I got to talk to them. I have to get this, get an answer to this particular thing. And I, we need to, as I use the term, we need to just fight the feeling and ignore it, and take the time to pull over, and then to have that particular conversation, answer that particular question, and be able to go from there. But a lot of things that are pulling on folks that are out there, and what we have to do is to be sure that anytime we're behind the wheel, that our focus is on that task and that task only. And again, anything that takes my attention away from the task of driving is distracted driving. Now, when we look at, what keeps people from using their phones, and again, uh, these numbers don't necessarily add up to 100. How effective are each of the following in deterring people? Vehicle systems that prevent phone use, as far as somewhat or very effective, was very high in this particular survey. Legislation was another that was very high. Others, maybe not quite as strong, but there's a number of things that are there, and it depends on the individual as far as what it's going to keep a person from using their phone while driving. Now, and as we go about this whole task of driving, and I know you've probably seen slides similar to this in the past, but as far as the types of distractions that are there, there's the visual, which is taking your eyes off the road. There's the manual, which is taking your hands off of the wheel. Eating, for example, is one that does that. And then more importantly is the cognitive, because this takes my mind off of driving. And the thing is with cell phones and with texting, it involves all three distractions. Now, Texas does have a law against texting. We don't have, other than the 100 plus communities that passed city ordinances as it relates to talking on a phone while driving. And every single one of those only address handheld. And, why is that? I'll give you an answer. Politics. Now, Zachary said a while ago I could introduce myself, and I just went right into my slide presentation. So I'll tell you a little bit about me at this particular point, why I can say politics. I spent 6 years back in the late 70s as a state representative for 6 counties out in West Texas, and plus was involved in state government with the health department and the Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, and also have been a corporate safety director for a pipeline construction company here in Houston for 12 years until I retired twice from them. But handheld is or hands-free is really no safer than handheld. And as the slide points out here, on the left-hand side, this is a person not talking on the cell phone. And you see the field of vision is fairly broad. Whereas on the right-hand side, they're using a hands-free device. And that field of vision has narrowed considerably as they are using this. And you say, well, I got my eyes on the road. And I'm not going to disagree that you got your eyes on the road, but those eyes are very focused. And it has a tendency to be looking straight ahead rather than looking from side to side. And so, good policy isn't going to just address handheld. It really needs to address hands-free, and that there should be no cell phone usage while an individual is operating a vehicle, company or otherwise, in that particular regard. And this picture kind of illustrates one of the other things too. You look at the picture on the left-hand side. Look at the picture on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, person's paying attention. Right-hand side, well, let's see, they're missing those traffic lights that are real close to them. They really can't read that traffic sign that is up there at the lights indicating something that they can or can't do. We got a pedestrian over on the side there that is rather blurry, and because we're not. And, the thing is, as we drive, as we are taking in information, if we don't tell the brain what's important, it's going to decide what's important. And despite the belief of many people, in fact, I always enjoy saying, who in here is a multitasker? And I usually will have somebody raise their hand and say that, Yep, I'm a multitasker, and then I give them a little test, and they find out, I guess I'm not. And we actually misuse the term multitasking. And you see two definitions there on the slide. Switch tasking is doing multiple different tasks that aren't directly related to the same outcome, where multitasking is switching between tasks performed in the same time frame, but not at the same time. I mean, and I have a feeling that several of us have been guilty of making this statement. We get a lot of things done in a short time period. And what do we say? Man, I am really multitasking today. No, you're not. You're getting a lot of things done in a short time period, but you're just switching tasks is what you're doing in that time period, and you're doing that pretty quickly. Because the brain is not, when it comes to the cognitive things, the brain is not designed to cognitively handle two things at the same time. Let me give you an example. You ever tried to read a book and talk on the phone at the same time? You say, no, I've done that. Can't do that. Well, you can't do that and operate your motor vehicle either. We need to give driving all of our attention and to focus on that task and really nothing else anytime we are behind the wheel. And as we look at the whole thing as it relates to driving, when it comes to adjusting my mirrors, when it comes to adjusting the controls in the vehicle, when it comes to adjusting my seat, I need to do all those things before I start to drive. Once I am in my vehicle and it's started and it begins to move, my focus needs to be strictly on the task of driving. Because, how long does it take to be involved in a collision? And those of you who have been investigating motor vehicle collisions, how many times have you heard? And maybe if we've been involved in one, we've been guilty of the same thing and saying, man, it happened so fast. I just didn't have time to react. And certainly that it does happen fast. And it's important that we are constantly focused. When we talk about cell phones, we talk about texting and reading a text message, and talk about how far we travel in a very short time period. And I'll give you an example that I use in defensive driving. In 4 seconds, at 55 miles an hour, you will cover a football field from goalpost to goalpost. And according to a university, I believe it's University of Virginia study, the average length of time that somebody takes their eyes off and involved in this is like 28 seconds. And we wouldn't think of driving with our eyes closed for 20-something seconds. But in a sense, anytime we're taking our eyes off the road, not paying attention to what's going on, that's what we're doing. We are driving with our eyes closed. And another thing that I want to mention, and this particular document is one of the things that can be downloaded from our website, and that is, we've called it co-pilot rights. Here you are, the passenger. In fact, I would dare say that every single one of us today have an individual that we know. It might be a family member, it may be a coworker, it may be a friend, that we say, if I have to ride with them, I think I'll just take my own vehicle. And as passengers, we need to encourage our employees as passengers, when we see a driver that is operating the vehicle unsafely, we need to be willing to speak up. Because here's the thing, it's not the driver who always pays for the mistake that they make. It's the passenger sometime when it comes to motor vehicles. And so, as passengers, we need to speak up. If you feel they're distracted or doing something dangerous, we can prevent distractions. We can operate the GPS system. We can adjust the air conditioner or whatever. I've got a granddaughter who's going to make a great safety professional one day because, when she rides with her mother, she says, I'll take care of the text and answer the phone calls. And, she used to, when she was about 5 years old, call my hand on something that I would do. I'd get into the parking garage at the office and immediately got into that parking garage. Well, what was the first thing I'd probably do before I parked my vehicle? I'd unbuckle my seatbelt. And she did not hesitate to remind me, Papa, you just did a safety violation. And I'd put the seatbelt back on until I got it parked and told her I appreciated her reminding me that I had not been as safe as I should be. And here again, I'm in a parking lot. And we need to be paying just as much attention when we're in the parking lot as we are out on the open road. And so, as passengers, we need to be willing to speak up, and our expectation as an employer, and we need to have policies in place that do ban all phone usage, and there's technology out there that can allow us to do those things, and there's in-vehicle monitoring systems that are there. There are cameras that can detect when eye gaze is not on the road, and a lot of different things in that particular regard. And the sample safe driving policy that you see on the right-hand side of the screen is another one of the resources that we have at the txdrivingconcern.org website that can be downloaded and can be used to, again, help people who operate motor vehicles and are employed by your company or your organization, that they know what the expectation is as far as the company is concerned, and that those of us in safety, that what our expectation is from them as they are out there. And this is the thing that we also need to keep in mind, because as we talk about driving, and I always enjoy talking with companies and say, how many drivers do you have? And their mind immediately goes to the people who are driving a vehicle for the company business. And then my next question is, how many employees do you have? And they give me that number. I say, that's how many drivers you have potentially. Because every one of those people have to get to work and they have to get home. We want them to get to work safely. We want them to get home safely as well. And as we look at the things that we do as a company, as an organization, it's a continual effort as we seek to improve, as we seek to do better. If we start with the possible development of a policy. As we develop that, we educate people about that policy before we put it in place. We provide the training. We give them the tools that they need to be able to do whatever is required as it relates to that policy. Then we monitor it. And here's the thing. Any policy we put in place, and I know I'll use this term, preaching to the choir here, we all know that a policy is only as good as we are willing to enforce that particular policy. I can remember management talking with me as I would talk about a particular policy. One of the first questions that they would ask is, number one, are people going to be willing to do it? And more importantly, how are we going to monitor whether or not people are complying, that they are doing this? But as we enforce, as we reinforce, we learn some things, and we maybe make some changes, we make some adjustments to better correspond to what we are wanting, and then just begin that process over and over again. Distracted driving is a major problem, and through our driving concern program, which is a grant program through the Texas Department of Transportation and National Safety Council. We actually have two programs that you see here. We have our driving concern, which focuses on five of the more serious issues as it relates to driving. Distracted driving is one of those. And then we also have the DIDI program, which stands for Drug Impairment Training for Texas Employers. And one of the things that you see on the poster on the left-hand side there at the bottom, our training is free. It's a grant program. We conduct X number of trainings. All of our resources are free in that particular regard. And the cell phone on the right-hand side of the screen is a reminder that the way we have the website set up and formatted, you can utilize it with a smartphone, you can utilize it with a tablet, you can utilize it with a computer. And a lot of different resources that we have that are out there for employers. I mentioned our driving concern. You see the 5 risky driving behaviors. We actually have each one of these in an e-learning format that a person can go. They can go through each one of these particular topics, and you see that certificate of attendance. If they take all of them, then take a little test, pass that test, then they're issued a certificate of attendance. This does not count for defensive driving or anything of that particular nature, but is just again a tool that companies can use as it relates to these topics for employees to receive training that they need. We've got some other things that are there: a road sign quiz, another on what kind of driver are you. A lot of different things that can be used to get people's attention and to raise their awareness and to change our culture as far as driving is concerned and motor vehicle incidents are concerned. A couple of the other resources that we have developed over on the left-hand side, we call these safety coach cards. And with the safety coach cards, well, what we have done is that we have questions on, there are about 112 of them in the set, some questions on driving basis, distracted driving, truck safety, impaired driving, drowsy, passenger restraints, aggressive driving, some statistics. There's a question on one side, answer on the other. Perfect little discussion starter in a safety meeting. Had people that have taken these, they put them out in the break room. Employees will pick them up and read them. One of the things that we also will be coming out with here very shortly, because there's a third grant that we're involved in, and that has to do with pedestrian safety. We actually have a set of safety coach cards just for pedestrian safety that will be available on the website hopefully before too long. When it comes to, we call it a traffic safety huddle, but a safety talk. We've got 20 plus traffic safety huddles on a variety of topics, backing, buckling up, impaired driving, where and these are anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to maybe as much as 15 minutes, depending on the topic, providing background information for the person who's going to be using it, providing questions that are there that we provide the answers to, so that, again, there can be a discussion in regard to that. Because here's the thing, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands or anything like that, but, and our company was as guilty of this as any other. We were great at having a safety meeting and talking about how to do the job safely. We spent very little, if any, time talking about getting to that job safely. And driving safety needs to be a part of the discussion that we're having with our employees in the safety meetings, because first you got to get there, and that means paying attention. And when we talk about culture and improving that culture, as we all know, it's not a one and done deal. We can't just do a defensive driving class and say, okay, we've got it done. It's something that we have to keep the message in front of people all the time. And so we've got approximately 50 different posters, some that are in English, many that are in English, some that are in Spanish, but some other things down in the lower right-hand corner of the 360 for safety is actually a window clean that for folks who like to do the walk around and remind folks of that. It's a window clean that we can send you if you just go to the website. There is a place to order materials that are there. One of the things too that many times we don't think about, and you see it up in the upper right hand corner, and this is rental car. How many of us have folks who fly, who rent cars? And we've created a rental car checklist. Again, a downloadable item that is there that can be used in that regard. One of our newer posters is the one in the middle about welcome new employees, talking about safety is spoken here. And it can be downloaded as well. So a variety of resources that we have, webinars. The most of our training has been virtual. Things are getting where we actually are trying to get out and to do some in-person training for companies, and would encourage you to visit the website to see things that are there. Avail yourself of it, because everything there is free. If you're having a safety event for employees and for family's sake, and wanting some driving materials, if you'll contact us, this is something that we can send you posters and things of that nature that people can use. And then we are social. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. And if you haven't ever looked at any of our sites at txdrivingconcern.org, and when you go there, you can see these links. We would love for you to go over and like our group. There are things that are being provided on each of these, particularly Facebook and on Instagram, that we are sharing from the website that is out there that people can see and have the opportunity to get some additional information that they can use in that particular regard. And I appreciate the opportunity for us to come today and to be a part of your meeting and share some information as far as distracted driving month is concerned, and the problem that is there. Cell phones are a problem, but they are not the big problem. There are a lot of issues that are there that we need to keep in mind, that we need to be focusing on. And with that, Zach, again, appreciate the opportunity. And if if anybody has any questions, I do have the chat open. Our small group, if you want to turn on your microphone and so forth, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike? All righty. Well, Mike, we sincerely appreciate you taking the time and going over this with us during Distracted Driving Month and everything. I think it's as you saw the numbers, it's cost us millions, billions of dollars, and how it kind of relates to us is if you see our insurance premiums rise, you'll know why. So I think it's going to be a joint effort, like you said, for all to keep everybody on the same page and everything, because it really does hurt everyone. So no, thank you again, Mike. We appreciate it. Again, for everybody, if you want the CEUs, please make sure you put your email in the chat box. I'll stick around in Teams for a minute to capture that. So we're good to go. So again,
Maria had a question about sharing the presentation, the PowerPoints, and yes, I can do that.
Awesome. So I think, so how would you want to go about that, Mike? Do you want her to reach out to you, or do you want to reach out to her?
She can reach out to me. My email address was there. It's mike.ezel@att.net.
Awesome. Maria, you got that?
Actually, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay, that'll be perfect.
Hey, Zach, this is Forrest. I just had a quick question on the PDC coming up in August.
Yep, go for it.
Do we know of any chapter members that are actually speaking at that event? Because I know I just got my confirmation letters approving me to speak at the event. I was wondering if we got any points for that on our comp.
No, as far as for the CompT, we don't get any extra points for it, but it is something that we could, share with our members that, hey, one of our members. So I'd like for that to happen.
Yeah.
Let me ask the group here. Do y'all know of anyone? Y'all know of anybody that got accepted to present at the PDC? Forrest said he got his approval. Oh, so Karen as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, if y'all want to just send me an email saying that y'all were accepted to it, and then we could put something on our page to kind of congratulate y'all and send it out to our membership.
That'll work.
Thank you, Forrest.
You bet. Take care, everybody.
All righty, that's all we have. Thank you, everyone. I'll stick around here for a little bit to make sure you got your emails put in, and we'll be good to go. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy your week.